Hey guys, welcome to the second video of how I make my fingerboard decks. In this video I'm just going to be going over the type of glue that I use and the mould that I use, and we're going to glue this up and pop it in a mould, and yeah, basically that's it. So first up, the last video I showed you the 5 pliers. We're going to be using the ones that I showed you, these ones. These are these coloured maple veneers. The only one that's not maple is that one. I just thought I'd add in something different just to see how well it works on this, really. So, glue. Gorilla Glue. I use Gorilla Glue. It's a polyurethane glue. It tends to be, I find it's the better one, better than PVA. It just makes for a stiffer deck, and it makes it a lot more poppy as well. I found that PVA, like a normal PVA wood glue, it will, you know, it will do it, but it doesn't make the deck as poppy. It can kind of feel almost like a little bit soft, I suppose. A little bit, you know, you can twist the board really easily if you did that with it. So there's more of a chance as well of you getting like maybe like a little bit of warpage in the board after a little while and stuff like that, and it might not hold its shape for, you know, quite as well. So that is why I tend to use Gorilla Glue. Okay, so next thing, I have been using this mould here. That's the bottom part. This is from the guys at Create Escape. I find these are great moulds. They work really well. I don't tend to use it how they say to use it, purely because I've found that I've only got 4 of the bolts in here. There is another 2 that go in the centre there, one either side. Obviously you put the top on it like that, and then you're meant to screw all these down, but doing them one by one, you're not getting an even pressure across the whole thing as it compresses down. So what tends to happen is it doesn't really, again, it will do it, but I've had too many boards that have been slightly warped or, you know, a little bit off. So the way I tend to do it is I use the 4 bolts, but I don't compress them right down. I just basically, once the deck's in the mould, I'll just tighten them down very slightly with fingertips, and then I use a vise because it gives you even pressure all the way across it when it compresses in. So then I'll use a vise to clamp it down properly. So the next thing I do with these, a lot of these 3D printed moulds, because the black part of this is 3D printed, these 3D printed moulds, they tend to have like lots of little lines in them across them, and what tends to happen is that tends to transfer into the top and bottom veneer after you've taken it out of the mould. It tends to like leave a slight imprint. I mean, you can sand it out, but it does take quite a bit, and obviously you don't want to sand away too much of your deck. So what I've found to be quite helpful is I use some thin card on top of the mould, on the top and the bottom, just some thin card, and that takes out those lines, so you won't get them transfer into the deck. It's basically like that thin cardboard takes that out, so you'll end up with a nice smooth finish across your veneer on the top and the bottom. The other thing that I tend to do is I use some baking paper, like wax paper. So basically then I would put that on top of the cardboard like that, and then once the deck goes in, I put another bit on top of the deck, and then the top of the mould goes on. Basically this just protects the mould really, protects, like, because this glue kind of foams out a little bit, so it just protects the mould, stops it from getting all over the mould, and it's a nightmare to get it off if you get it on there. So this is a really good idea, and it also stops, if there is any glue come through, it stops the deck sticking to those bits of cardboard as well, which, you know, you don't want. It just saves you a bit of time eventually anyway. I'm just going to pick that bolt up I just dropped on the floor. Apologies for that. So what we're going to do next is we are going to glue up the deck and we are going to put it in the mould. And yeah, that's what we're going to do. So let's crack on with that and we'll get this all in and ready to go. For a spreader for the glue, what I tend to use is a off-cut piece of veneer, and I'll put some tape over the end of it like that. So you've got that, and that basically I use as a glue spreader. Works quite well. I generally try and cut that to the width of the veneer, and then you can just spread the glue nice and easy. Another thing which I didn't mention a second ago, basically if I'm doing a deck like this, just plain bottom, what I'll tend to do is I'll dampen the back side of it slightly, ever so slightly, just to, you know, dip my finger in some water, dampen the back of it, and the top ply I always slightly dampen that as well, very slightly, before it goes in the mould. I've found that that helps stop any splitting in the veneer, because sometimes depending on the grain you can get little splits that appear in the veneer. And yeah, you don't want that. You really don't want that. I'm hoping it might happen with this one so I can show you what I mean, but we shall see. Right, so let's get this glued up and get on with it. Right, so that's now all clamped up in the mould. You can see it's taken shape, and you can kind of see the glue kind of bubbling out a little bit, starting to bubble out a bit at the sides. So I'll now leave that in there for 2 hours and then we'll take it out and see what it's like. That's all in the mould in the workshop. I'll leave that in there for a couple of hours now, and then we'll take it out and see what it's like. So what I'll do is I'll do that in the next video, and yeah, we'll go from there. Hopefully by the end of this series we would have made a complete deck, and yeah, and we'll be happy with it. So take care guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel because it greatly helps me out, and I will see you on the next video. Bye for now.